Oh my God, there's no way. There's no way he is that strong. I broke the game.
Hey everyone, it's Area of Effect with another out-of-the-box build. This build I may be brave enough to even call it my Mona Lisa, my Sistine Chapel, probably my favorite damage dealing build I've ever put together, and I've done it over the course of 6 weeks. It's taken a lot more time than most of my builds, but now I'm happy to introduce Meridia's Runekeeper. Take a look at the stat screen now. Over 30k magicka and health, over 32,000 resistances, and 5,000 weapon and spell damage with decent crit. I toggled from sword and board bar to the staff bar. The stats are very similar, very powerful. Look at the recoveries. To come up with some of those numbers to assist, we have the smoked bear haunch. We want a lot of recovery on this build as we are actually using stamina and magicka builds, but I wouldn't consider this a hybrid. It's still primarily focused on magicka. The serpent is our boon, a lot of break free, sword and board skills, and dodge roll and blocking. So we do need that. We are a dark elf. It's going to give us that max magicka and stamina that we need. You'd kind of go with this on a hybrid build. Like I said, it's not a hybrid build, but we do utilize both stats. Resist flame, that's going to go a long way with a lot of dragon knights, and pretty much most PvP builds have flame. Ruination, weapon and spell damage by 258, just giving us more power for our damage and our healing abilities. So as kind of a brief mini showcase, I want to show what this build looks like and what it's doing. You see all the fireballs that are getting shot, getting reflected back, the flame over my head. In just a second, you'll see a gold burst. There it is. Now I'm dodging all the attacks while I stand here. Now I'm back to reflecting the attacks. We have the tether to an enemy, which is from Batishran, which we'll get into all this stuff with the build and the gear, but I just wanted you to see how this thing, 29,000 as well on a Radiant Glory. But let's jump into the gear and how to put this together. The Asylum Axe and Shield honestly is key. You need to get this. It's a trial set, but it's a two-piece. When you reflect a projectile or absorb it with defensive posture or its morphs, you restore 2,200 magicka. If you don't get hit with the magicka, or I'm sorry, with the projectile over the course of 6 seconds, you absorb over 6,000. So what that looks like is this. I've casted the skill. 6 seconds is going to tick out. You're going to see my shield. There it is. I just got 6,000, almost 7,000 magicka back. The monster set we're wearing is Zol, the Ever Wakeful. This set is one of the best, if not the best, table turner sets in the game. When you break free from a stun, you create a wave of Watcher energy. It stuns and fears everybody around you for 3 seconds. It's an AoE, CC, and you gain weapon and spell damage for each enemy in the circle. Like 30 something. So if there's 3 enemies, you get 100 right there. So that's our monster set, irreplaceable. The first 5-piece set, Meridia's Blessed Armor. We got armor, stam recovery, and armor again. When you block, you gain Meridia's Blessed Armor for 5 seconds, causing you to dodge all incoming attacks for 5 seconds. Just by blocking, and it can occur every 25 seconds. So 5 seconds on, 20 seconds down, 5 seconds up, 20 seconds down. We do this on command when we want to. We don't have to block everything, and I don't overlap this with my sword and board ultimate, which we'll get into, because you don't want them to be simultaneous for the most optimal reflection and survivability. So we're using a trainee belt right now on this, because we're using the Sea Serpent Coil mythic. But if you wanted to go with the left-hander Aegis belt, it's a mythic 1-piece. When you dodge roll, you get a 21,000 point damage shield instead of dodging. That's actually insane. In some of the clips I have that. What that does is it's not impacted by battle spirit. You'll get that full shield, but you avoid spin to win, you avoid radiant destruction, things that aren't dodgeable that you die from, like finishers and executes. A lot of times that's what kills you. You can avoid that by surviving it with that 1 second shield. So Sea Serpent Coil, when you take damage, well, at full health, it's a 40% damage reduction, but then you proc Serpent's Rebuke, gives you 10% additional damage with Major Berserk, and also gives you 430 weapon and spell damage with Major Courage. So that's the set we're using for more power. The front bar, Batishran's Inferno Staff, we have this precise with the Berserker Glyph. We want that crit. We're at like 34% crit. I have perfected lightning and other stuff, but I haven't gotten the perfected Inferno, but obviously you would want it for an additional, 1k plus penetration. But anyway, when you hit him with the debuff, which is the elemental susceptibility or elemental drain, you create a tether between you and the enemy for 10 seconds. You see the tooltips 1547, flame, frost, or shock damage. In addition to what Ellie Drain is actually going to hit him with every 6 seconds. But this tether increases damage for the duration every second that it damages. And anybody in between the tether between you and the primary target will also take that damage. So it is now an AoE. But anyway, let's jump into the skills now. All right, skills on the front bar, the offensive bar. We have, let's buff up here, Force Pulse. It's going to cost 2430 magicka, 2500 flame, frost, and shock damage, and up to two nearby enemies will take an additional almost 9k magic damage if they're already affected with a status effect. Not even just from you, but just a status effect. So this won't give us the interrupt, but it will give us a little more damage to the surrounding targets. Living Dark. This shield is irreplaceable on this build. You put yourself in a sphere for 12 seconds. Enemies that attack you with direct damage attacks snare themselves, but also you get healed for over 2,000 for each direct damage attack that you will take. So this is just going to passively kind of mitigate all these direct damage attacks that you're going to be receiving in PvP, whether it be ranged or it be up close and melee. Now, I had an original concept. Notice the rune on my chest. So before switching to Living Dark, based on optimization, I was using this rune, Ring of Preservation, from the Fighters Guild skill line, which coupled well with the Restoring Focus rune I'm standing in presently. And then the Mages Guild skill line has the Fire rune, which I had tested. Look at these 3 different runes on the ground, including the runes on my shield, the runes when you block, and the runes you get on Left-Hander's Aegis Belt when you dodge roll. It was all basically a rune build. And then if you got the update from Arcanist, this is like a month ago, guys, and then the Arcanist build gets released, as far as the information, and they're saying it's a rune-based build. So I beat Zost to it again. But anyway, just based on optimization factors, I switched the, I need the susceptibility, obviously, for Vatishran, and I switched the Fighters Guild rune to Living Dark. Moving on, the next skill is the debuff to proc Vatishran, elemental susceptibility, hits him with Major Breach, reducing their resistance by 6,000. So that's why our penetration on the stat screen was between 3 and 4. We add this into it, we're going to have around 10. But it's also going to give them status effects every 6 seconds. Every status effect: burning, minor maim from the frost, and then minor vulnerability from the shock, increasing their damage output by 5% and their damage taken by 5%. All right, next skill, I missed the time frame to speak it, but Radiant Glory. This is what you want to use as a finisher. It really helped. Some of the clips you'll see I do not use this. I had Power of the Light. You can still do that, but Radiant Glory, I think, is honestly irreplaceable after playing and testing. So much damage, especially with Sea Serpents. All right, Restoring Focus. This gives us our Major Resolve, Major Ward. We picked the morph that gives us 242 stamina every second versus the magicka one, and it costs stamina, very little, to cast, but we also get stamina back and we get health if we're standing in it. Fighters Guild skill ultimate, the Meteorite. We're going to drop it in for almost 14k damage. It's going to stun people, flame damage in the area, and we pick Shooting Star morph, so we get ultimate, 12 ultimate for every enemy that gets hit by the initial blast. Moving on to the sword and board side now. Now this bar is mostly our defensive, our healing and buff bar for the most part, but we do have some skills that will do damage as well. Reflective Light, up to 3 targets will take 4,200 flame damage up front, 15,000 flame damage over 22 seconds. We'll be snared by 40% for 5 seconds, but we get our Major Savagery and Major Prophecy for 22 seconds. This is our critical rating. This is how we're getting up to like 33%, 34%. So we hit him with that at the lead off of every fight. We got Resolving Vigor. It's an 18,000, almost 19,000 heal over 5 seconds. And we get Minor Resolve, which will increase our physical and spell resistance by 3,000 for 20 seconds. It's how we're sitting at 32,000 physical and spell resistance. Defensive Stance. This one is key. You're going to cast this. It's a sword and board skill. You're going to get a damage shield for almost 10k for 6 seconds. It scales off your max health. The next harmful effect, direct damage projectile, cast at you, you will reflect it completely back toward the enemy with that clap. I look kind of shimmery there. And while it's slotted, by the way, the damage you can block is increased by 10% and the cost of blocking is reduced by 10%. Very tanky skill to have slotted. We cast this, we get magicka back when we cast it, and we reflect the projectile back. That's why we have so much stamina recovery, and it was higher than our magicka recovery. The next skill, Breath of Life, unbelievable, big bursty heal. Everybody knows this skill. You can heal yourself and friendly targets, cost magicka. Just big bursty heal when you need it. Next skill, Degeneration from the Mages Guild. It'll deal 21,000 damage over 24 seconds, but more importantly, gives us our major sorcery buff, which is going to increase our weapon and spell damage by 20%, keeping us over 5,000. So we do this, when we can with every enemy if we can. But anyway, ultimate, 7 seconds, 128 ultimate. You cast Spell Wall. It's going to reflect all projectiles for 7 seconds while this rune is up, blocking you. Any direction, including your back, even though it doesn't look like it. I've always hated that. But it's also going to block everything at no cost. So it's not just going to reflect projectiles, it's going to block everything for you. 7 seconds, guys, is how long it's going to do that. Couple that with the 5 seconds from Meridia, you got 12 seconds of basic invulnerability. A monster set that will table turn fear them, and magicka procking, debuffing, sea serpents. I didn't talk about trainee, by the way. We missed our slot. This video is already almost 32 minutes long in its completion because I went really long with my PvP clips because I loved this build. Trainee gave us max health and max magicka. You could do willpower, you could do potentates. Let's talk about the blue tree. We skipped the green tree because nobody cares. Deadly aim. Single target attack damage by 6%. We're doing that to go well with the Inferno Staff because the Inferno Staff passives increase our single target damage. We need that. Thaumaturge is going to increase our damage over time. That's Vatishran, that's Degeneration, that's Reflective Light, that's Radiant Destruction. Pretty much all we're doing except for our weaving of Force Pulse and Light attacks. Untamed Aggression, 150 weapon and spell damage, and Arcane Supremacy, 1300 max magicka. This is to basically keep us over 30k and 5k weapon and spell damage. On the red tree, Boundless Vitality, 1400 max health. It's putting us over 30k max health. Things we do scale from max health, by the way, including the damage shields we get. Fortified, 1700 physical and spell resistance. Rejuvenation, 90 health, magicka, and stamina recovery at all times. And then the last one, Sustained by Suffering, even more magicka, stamina, and health recovery, 150 while under the effects of a negative effect. This is going to be constantly in PvP. You will almost never not have a negative effect, maybe if you're not in combat, and then you don't need recovery. So that's going to wrap up the CP distribution and also wrap up this build, the Meridia's Runekeeper build. If you like this video and you want to see more, head on over to my channel. I've got plenty of builds on there. All roles, healing, tanks, damage dealers, stamina, magicka, everything pretty much unconventional that you could think of. I like to stay out of the box. I've got several more on the way. I'm excited about the news with the new class, Arcanist, coming out. I'm sure I'll have some big things hopefully to offer there, or maybe I'll just suck and stick with the old Templar and the old Sork and the old DK and the old, as long as I say the ol, it just makes me sound like I've been around. Well, I have been around a while. See, now I'm getting off topic, and this is supposed to be my outro. I always do this, guys. It's your fault. Look how cool he's walking. Slow motion exit. Slow motion exit. Master it. Thanks, guys, for watching. Like, subscribe, share. Area of Effect, signing out.